Watching the market on the micro, you can see the fact that the price did break lower. Ether showing you the micro rising wedge broke to the downside, retested, and got rejected. Right now, it's at the first micro support, and the measured move takes you down close to 2300. You look at Bitcoin, you see almost similar moves. You're watching the price slowly coming back down. If you go back into the thought process we were sharing yesterday, a few days back, giving you guys the real details, the thought process was the same. We want to see a break to the downside, just as you can see. A couple of days back, we put the argument when we were at the local roof. We want to see the price coming back down to test the support, gather more buyers, and then bounce off. Market is starting to show you on a macro. There is a lot of opportunities. Yeah, for sure, you need to look through higher time frame chart. And that's exactly where XRP shows you something. That's exactly where you look at the stock market and say, we are bouncing back higher. The break to the downside is now a fake out. So most likely it's going to be a blow off, most likely going back down. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. While you do talk about the blow off, you would be thinking, oh, Buffett is in 280 billion cash. Is he wrong? Is he right? Yeah, most likely he's right about the market and its direction. But last time also in 2020, you saw the same thing. He was out by the first drop below the moving average, but then the market decided that I'm going to do one more run up before I go down. And the big guys, they don't really care about this blow off. They don't really want to participate in such a run to the upside. Rather, they would buy it back at the bottom here. They accumulate here once the prices drop down massively. So they get to still buy 40% cheaper. Great. Same thing most likely is about to repeat. We're going to see a blow off here, 3 months, 4 months, whatever the time horizon is. The price may rally during that time and come back. So if you have an argument about XRP at the same time, watch this. We haven't changed the narrative. The bullish candle here is still intact. While Ether and XRP is holding on to one level, Ether suddenly dropped below that. Bitcoin suddenly dropped below that. Still, XRP is holding on. So the bullish candle argues the perspective, yeah, I would like to see this kind of a move to the downside before we bounce back up. That would make more sense when you do go onto a shorter horizon chart. So you pick up 4-hour XRP chart, and what you're watching is that you do have a trend line which you're kind of flirting with. You didn't break that to the upside yet. But yeah, for sure, on a micro, you're trying to put in such a pattern. We argued about this. And right now, we are watching that playing out. And that's exactly where these kind of calls benefit 1,200 plus members in the SI family. They get to see the max. They get to see the lows before it happens. The thought process was shared at the right time. For you to be able to join that party, use the link in the description below and be a part of the Scientific Investor family. Now, the news and narrative give you one point. Whether you like this market, whether you're looking for a long-term rally, you don't want to miss this. Cryptocurrency is being compared with the internet adoption, and it's been done that phase over and over again while the market drops. But then you get to see why they buy the bottom. Then you get to understand why the whales don't back off. Because the long-term narrative is clear. Stock market is coming back up close to the all-time highs. You're watching thought processes coming out saying, maybe they are about to accept crypto as a payment mechanism. And that can be Bitcoin initially. But then you see a ton of more money coming into the crypto ecosystem. And this is happening every now and then with these drops. So someone else is considering these low as buy the dip narrative. Now you're like, okay, fine. Why would they do that if the price is about to drop to 30,000? That is where you see these kind of bullish candles give you a picture, but they don't directly go up. They first come down like this on a Bitcoin 3-day. It gives you certainty that the market has done this over and over again. So most likely, why wouldn't it do that here? A candle close about 55 on a 3-day would be perfect. Now we just got the 3-day close right now in front of us. And watch how it's evolving. The next one is starting here, and maybe it's going to come back down to this point, or it may directly start from here. But it doesn't matter much because we already touched the initial support zone. Now the long wick and its support here is still there, which will only be visible on a weekly chart, and that needs a weekly candle close, which is coming in next 24 hours. So you're standing here saying, I got to see buyers are entering into this asset, but I also know that they failed to break through this level. So at this support, you're watching buyers entering, buying back up, and testing that support again is not a new story. It's good because when you do go back on the 3-day chart, the argument is you had an entire 3-day candle closed here with a doji signal with a long wick or a shadow to the upside saying buyers came in here, they tried to push the price up, but then sellers came back in. Fine. But look at the entire story here. The volume matters. The selling volume was way bigger than the last 3-day candle. So you measure the total movement of last 3-day candle. That's 7%. Fine. Now you bring it up to measure the current candle. That's 9%. Fine. The current candle closed with a negative 2.9, say 3%. Now you pull it up back into the previous candle and you see, that was also closed 3%. But the volume here was massive and negative. It's not sellers backing down. Sellers are still here, but it's the buyers who are doubling down. That's what you're watching. New money entering. Whenever someone is selling, they're about to buy, they're buying. That's one of the reasons why you observe the fact that even though you have a lot of sellers, price is not breaking through the supports. Someone at some place in the world is considering this as an opportunity. Now then at that point, we would ask, okay, what are they watching? If it's a macro whale, what would they be looking at? And that is the point where we argue, we came close to this. Maybe they're not looking for the absolute bottom. What they are looking at is a chop off. Maybe 90, maybe 95, maybe 100. Whatever their target is, it's fine. But the argument is you're waiting on a 3-day, you're waiting on a daily, you're watching the price slowly getting buying signals and more buyers are entering. So then you're like, okay, let me see if the indicators are starting to turn. MACD didn't cross to the upside. It was about to cross, but it did not. So the micro thought process of it coming back down to 54, 53 is not cleaned out of the market. Because that still will give you the wave one narrative which we are talking about. It's fine. Coming back to 55, 54, 53, that's completely okay. It stays within the range. And then you go on a 3-day chart. You're like, okay, MACD is still going down. RSI is trying to make a bottom for sure. Bullish divergence is present here for sure. So you have a higher time frame structure than the daily saying, I have more buyers entering. So you move on to a weekly to see what can be the possible next leg. And that is where the weekly suggests you the fact that you kind of have a support region from 54 to 55. The price is kind of shying off at that territory. Last time you had similar wick to the downside after a huge selling volume, and then the price started showing you upside shadows. First, price went down. Sellers pushed it down, but buyers absorbed all of it. Now, the exact same buyers are pushing it back up, but sellers are entering at those levels. But now they're not able to push it lower at this point. So you had a local high close to 72,000, 71,000, and you formed the local low at 49. Right now, at a support, you're making an inverted hammer pattern. Remember, that's almost exactly what we have seen in here. So the price being choppy on the micro makes a lot of emotion, creates a lot of panic for sure. That's nothing different from what we have seen historically in this asset class. The way they correct is price-based correction or time-based correction. That's how they get the retail out of the market. And we have seen some of these scenarios where, we get this reversal and we immediately go back up. Sometimes we've seen these reversal signs and then you spend 2, 3, 4 weeks there before you start pumping. In both cases, you actually saw the reversal signal was valid, but the time taken to break further high was different. Fine, there is no different argument saying like, okay, we can predict the time correctly. Most of the time, you try to do that based on the history, but then the whales come out and say, nah, I'm not going to allow you to make it this easy. And that will happen. That's why we again zoom out on the macro. We go on a monthly chart. And Bitcoin kind of still argues the point, I'm still here. I'm still here riding a bull flag. What are you talking about on the micro direction of downside? Because 50,000 is still the bottom. 50,000 is still the support, and you're still inside the bull flag. If you remember the argument which we saw back in 2020, this was that. Yeah, you did get a long wick to the downside because of the pandemic. And then what happened? The price went up like nuts through a crazy blow off. Now, are we going to do something like that, or are we going to do the wave 3 blow off? Both are different. Don't confuse. This is after wave 1, you got that. So you happen to be lucky enough if you bought in here to ride the wave 2 as a blow. Here you already completed the 1 and the 2. So next one is going to be 3. So you're anticipating for something like this, not, a generational move in Bitcoin. But now you come on to the altcoin segment. The entire segment is showing you, okay, the 3-day chart still has all the bullish signals, which we discussed over the last couple of weeks while we were saying, watch, it's going to come down to the support for sure. But then the macro signals you something different. And that's exactly where we're going. The altcoin market pushing back higher shows you the key structure, which is it came back to the monthly moving average. It's bouncing off from the monthly moving average. And you zoom in on a weekly and you get to see the fact that it is clearly giving you a double bottom signal. One, it is clearly giving you a bullish hammer at a support zone. Just after that, it is forming an inverted hammer, which signals we may actually bounce immediately. Maybe just 2 weeks will go up. But then the story, look at the exact same thing, the price to volume. You had a lot of buying activity which failed to go back up. You have less than that in the buying activity, but you already have similar sized candle with an inverted hammer. That suggests that, sellers were very much interested in pushing the price down last week. This week, they are stepping back. Now, take the exact same narrative, take the thought process, take the direction, and come back into XRP. On a micro, in terms of XRP to USDT, you're watching this. We are still in that channel. You go on a 3-day, you get to see all of these facts, and you're like, okay, I kind of get all of these points. I don't need to involve a lot more data point, but I need a higher time frame structure. That is where it's like, okay, we've been trying to push lower, but immediately you are attracting buyers. You go on a monthly and you get to see the same thing. We came low, but we're still forming the highs. We're still close to the local highs. This is where people miss the perspective. You're not at the bottom of the range, rather, you're close to the top. That's where you look for breakout. That's where you look for a reversal. But on this time horizon, you still need another couple of weeks to get a monthly close. So you go on a weekly, which you'll get a close in a day, in 24 hours. And that's where you're like, okay, can we actually form a local low? But then there has been a trap before, right? Then there can be a trap before it goes back up. So no one is denying that fact. So to validate that, you will need the tomorrow's weekly close candle and its volume to observe which direction we closed and what we are showing. For sure, you'll have to then zoom in on the next daily candle to see where we are closing. Are we closing in the favor of this weekly candle, or are we shifting away from that? Yeah, you can use multiple tools for that. If you want to compare it with different assets, you can do that. But the easier way would be to go take XRP to Bitcoin, XRP to Ether, whichever you like, and you start watching something. While the price was going down, XRP Bitcoin RSI was showing you, I'm going up. I don't care about what you think, I'm going up. So buyers were piling in. Now you slowly zoom out and you're taking a higher direction and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The RSI is getting close to 70. Historically speaking, when you go above 70, that's a region of price action to the upside. Fine. So you have a lot of overhead resistance to go through in XRP Bitcoin terms. So you slowly zoom out, come on to the weekly, come on to the monthly, and you're like, okay, what are we trying to do here? This is a point which the majority miss. And this is so important, guys. This is so important. Just look at the RSI at this point. You came down to this point, which was almost exactly the same range which you saw at the bottom. The most bottom in the RSI for XRP. We came through that panic. Now what are we trying to do? We have a macro resistance. If you get a breakout here, things change very quickly. We have seen some sort of these things before. Right now, we are already at that resistance. We're watching for a breakout. Fine. If you don't like the RSI, just go to the price action. Now we're looking at a historical support from 2014. We bounced off. 2017, we bounced off. 2020, we bounced off. Right now, you're bouncing off from that region and you're still in doubt. I mean, that's not the right way to think as an investor. That's one of the primary reasons why we go through hundreds of different crypto assets and give you guys the right thought process in the SI family. And that is one big hell of a reason why 1,200 members are here in the Scientific Investor family and slowly growing to the upside. They are getting positioned well enough for this market cycle to blow off and take that capital and move out. Don't be trapped. What for wave 3? That's the final layer for Bitcoin. That's where you get the wave 2 for altcoins. It's hard, it's patience, it's a big game of patience. But discipline comes into the picture with proper knowledge of the TA side. So guys, if you received value, smash that like button for me. If you want to join the Scientific Investor family, use the link in the description below. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.